He's a friend of mine. He's the biggest writer producer I've ever met in my life. Ryan Tedder, come on in, dude. Oh, what's up, sir? Real good, man. Real good. He's in the flesh. She wanted to meet you. Hi. Now you've met. Okay, good.
Hi.
How long have we been doing interviews, dude? Like
07?
Jesus.
That's a long time.
I'll get this on tape in a minute, but I tell all the other artists that come in, you come up quite a bit. I'm like, dude, the best stories come from you and the OneRepublic guys. It's just nuts, dude.
I have more stories, by the way.
Oh, do you? Should I like crazy road stories kind of a thing?
We had we'll get into it when you do the thing, but I had the craziest, the most, not hilarious, but absurd, tour story just from like 6 weeks ago. That's like beyond epic.
The live show with the one, the only, Ryan Tedder. Give it up for Ryan, you guys. Ow, falling over my chair here. Tedder, good to see you, man. How are you?
Good. Can't complain.
All right, you've been on tour, seems like forever. You're always on tour, right?
The last couple of years, yeah. It's been a lot.
You ever take a break? Because I read you wanted to scale back.
We are. We don't have any. I mean, we got back from, we did Europe festivals and headlining like probably 2 months this summer. And don't really have, we just have random one-off shows the rest of the year. Next year, we're only doing a 3-week run, and that's it, which for us is like a record. So we're like capping it. We want to keep our maximum tour schedule between 8 to 10 weeks maximum in any calendar year, which for people who never tour sounds like a lot, but for a touring act, that'd be like the smallest year in history for us. So we're just capping it.
I'm telling you, this guy has the best stories ever. And I tell other artists that it's tough to compete with Ryan Tedder and the guys at OneRepublic's stories. I think you said this. If not, just punch me in the face, dude. You said it's tougher than ever to be an artist these days because you're competing with every song in history. You never know what's going to pop up, like running up the hill, and it kind of elaborate on what you said. What you mean by that?
Yeah. So prior to, let's say, it started shifting around 2018, 2019. And really COVID just like fast tracked the whole thing in terms of the music industry. TikTok now has become the number one influencer. It's almost the only way you can have a hit is you have to go viral. Now think about that for a second. Doesn't matter how good a song you write. Doesn't matter how it could be the best song you've ever written. If something doesn't go off in socials on TikTok, so then the world won't know it exists. And the reason they won't know it exists is because now every single day, about 110 to 120,000 songs are uploaded daily to Spotify, Apple, all the streamers. So you can't raise your hand high enough to be heard. You can get New Music Friday and get on radio and all these things help, but ultimately it's like we call it the attention economy, and attention's the only currency. So getting people knowing your song exists is almost impossible now. And then coupled with, because now every song that's ever been written exists on the same streaming platforms,
man,
you're competing against, if somebody posts something funny, a funny video, drinking orange juice on a skateboard, for instance, or whatever, and post it to Fleetwood Mac or a 7-year-old Arctic Monkeys record, right? Or Sweater Weather, right? Which is 10 years old. You're now competing against hits from 10 years ago, 7 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And to the average kid, they don't know or care that it came out 30 years ago. They go, oh, Bohemian Rhapsody. I love that. And it goes off online and goes number one for the third time. And so that's the era we live in when we started, as you know, because we did interviews all the time. It was like a club. Like you had to almost earn your way to get to be a recording artist. The songs had to be great. You had to tour to get signed, to then get the right to release music. And all that has shifted. So it's difficult. It's also, anybody can kind of catch a hit now. Like you can kind of get lucky from your bedroom and catch a hit because of TikTok, but very few new artists can follow it as a result of all the other things I said.
So when you're signing a new artist or working with a new artist, like what kind of advice do you give them? Like just, hey, good luck. Find somebody to dance to your song and post it. Kind of
yeah.
That's all you do?
If I'm working with them, it means they've probably already gotten traction online, right? So what artists do figure out sooner now than they ever have. I'm going to use an artist who I worked with recently as a good example. A guy like D4VD, David, or David Kushner, right? both new, both have blown up in the last year. I worked extensively with D4VD on his new upcoming stuff and some with David Kushner. Both of them understand the fan relationship way better than we did when we started, or any band when they started, right? Because you're dealing in real time with people across the world, millions of people on your socials. So that's the one benefit, is that your ability to engage your fans happens so much younger, so much quicker. The downside is that happens before you even know how to write good songs. So you've got fans, and what the mistake a lot of TikTok artists make is they think followers equals talent. I have 8 million followers, therefore I must be really talented. No, that is not how it works. It just means you do something interesting. And what I would tell new artists is keep your socials up, focus on it. It's important. Obviously, it's how we know you exist. But don't mistake followers for songwriting or good songs. Don't let that fool you. And spend at least as much time writing and learning how to write songs and developing your musicianship as you do developing your fan base. That would be like rule number 1.
Thus endeth that lesson for sure. New album, I'm told, in the works. Is that correct, Ryan Tedder?
That's correct. Yeah.
This will be your the group's 6th album?
6th, yeah, early next year. That's the goal.
What can you say about it? What can you leak? I'm sure most of it's top secret.
Yeah,
all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm not quite Beyonce with top secretness. Yeah, it kind of started back. We had this song we put out last year called West Coast, and then Top Gun, I Ain't Worried happened. And that was going to be on the album. We're like, well, that's cool. The second single's already a huge hit. So,
yeah.
So then we have a few more, and this is, I'd say, a very hitty sounding album. We've been going through hundreds of songs to narrow it down to 10 or 11, and we're super excited about it. Yeah, and we have a title picked out. We have the artwork already done. We have everything.
So are you one of those guys where, and I talk to a lot of artists, obviously, and before the album comes out, you got 24 hours before, then a song hits you that's the greatest thing ever. Do you expect that, or does that typically happen to you? Pause production, hold on, let me get this one song. I
never stop writing, and so for me that would always be the case. It's a rabbit hole. I write 5 days a week at least. It's probably almost 2 songs a day, and so I would say that, that is bound to happen. It has happened. But because of the era we live in, dude, it's hilarious. Back when I would work on OneRepublic albums, or, whoever it was, Beyonce or Maroon 5 or whatever, if you didn't meet that album deadline, if you had a crazy hit and you didn't, let's say the deadline was October 1st, and you came in screaming on October 1st, oh my God, we just wrote the biggest song. The Maroon 5 smash. They'd say, sorry, it's got to wait, the album's done. There's nothing we can do. Call us in 2 years. Now, it doesn't matter. It's like you wrote the biggest, you could hand in your magnum opus album of all time. Like Olivia just smashing it with guts, right? And single. Next week, her and Dan Nigro could write, she could be, oh my God, I just beat, I just beat everything I've ever written, and call Interscope and say, yo, I know the album's out. I don't care. Strap this on. We're releasing this next week. And it goes like that.
Wow. That's that's one. I guess that's one thing I like about the way the music is now. That's one of the good things.
You can pivot so quick now. And I will say, because I don't want to trash the current state of the music industry, one of the cool things about now, there's a lot of stuff that makes it infinitely harder as a songwriter and artist. One of the cool things about now is because there's so much music, and you remember this, 4 years ago, if a major artist came out with their first single, a career artist, right? And all the marketing push, all the love in the world behind it, and it was not a great song, or just was a dud and didn't work, it's it was almost embarrassing. If you're that artist, it sucks. You're I just played Saturday Night Live and my song is not
right.
It's a total flop. The whole world would see you flop. You and major artists would, I'm not gonna name names, but we know who they are. And it happens, right? In 2023 and 24, people wait, you put a song out? If the song doesn't connect, no one cares. Move on. Put out another song. Pick yourself up off the floor. Put out another song. And that is the cool thing about now.
Tedder, you guys, let's go. Yeah. I brag on you all the time, Tedder, about the fact that you have the best stories. You and the guy, like I think you've told me stories in the past where you've left a band member in another country, septic tank broke on a tour bus. I mean, a plane scare. What's the new one?
Okay, so a few weeks ago, I don't know if anybody was watching the news at all. There was a 120, 30-year record, the single biggest earthquake in the history of Morocco. It was all over the news. That was when we landed literally where we were flying in to do our first show that we've been dying to play Morocco our entire life. We booked a show. We were flying in to play Marrakesh, which is where the earthquake took place. I take off. As we're literally taxiing, a little article pops up, earthquake in Marrakesh. I'm like, no, this is not happening. And it was like, that's the sad part is people did die. We're taking off. It was like 200 people, something. We land, it was 3,000. We land, and I'm like, we land, and my phone's blowing up because we had no Wi-Fi as we're flying. We flew LA nonstop to Marrakesh. We land, my crew's there, half my band's already there. They were in the earthquake. My guitar player, my bass player, hotel shaking like crazy, everyone panicking. People ran out and they all slept out by the pool behind the hotel. And we're in Marrakesh. We land, we grab some food. We're getting ready to go to the show. And we're getting one text after another saying the show's been pushed back 30 minutes, 45 minutes. They want you to only do 30 minutes, 10 minutes, 2 songs, no show. And so we're stuck in Morocco for 3 days. This is 2-3 weeks ago. And we ended up doing I had a little gig in Madrid, so I went up there for a little bit, came back. And so crazy and sad because of what happened in Morocco. And I was just sitting around thinking, I was texting my wife. I was like, think about how big the world is, and think about the fact I've never been to Morocco. We've talked about it for years. And think about in all of Morocco, there's 4 or 5 major cities. We were flying into the one city in Morocco for the first time ever that just had the craziest earthquake in 120 years. It was the wildest, weirdest confluence of events. Thankfully, everybody in our crew was safe, and we ended up dedicating or donating a ton of money to the relief effort there. But it was wild. And then we walked around Marrakesh and saw some of the old. Turns out that the most of the disaster was right along the mountains, which is call it 30 minutes from Marrakesh, right? Roughly.
Gotcha.
So we avoided all that, but we saw it. Dude, I've never been in the aftermath of an earthquake. We're in a 1,200-year-old old town. And as we're walking down an alleyway to grab lunch, the entire alleyway, if you've ever played Assassin's Creed or any video games that take place in the Middle East, this is what it looks like. It looks like a video game set. We're walking down the alleyway to go grab lunch in the souk, right? And in the Medina, the old town of Marrakesh, and the entire alleyway walls collapse from me to that door. We're walking towards it, and it just goes and the aftershock just collapses as we're walking towards it. And all these people are shouting in Arabic and well, what the hell? And goats are running around. It was the wildest thing. And we all sat around as a band. And we were talking about you. We're like, this is a story for JoJo. This is you can't make this. You can't. Not so much funny, but more what are the odds? The odds of that happening are insane. And it's it was wild.
Okay, well, for starters, prayers to the people going through all kind of crazy stuff. Obviously.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing the donations and whatnot. And I'm glad you guys are safe.
Same.
That's nuts.
It's nuts, man. It's absolutely nuts.
All right. Yeah, that was a story for me.
I got more stories I'll save for next time.
Of course, Ryan writes for everybody. I'm going to drop a recent one on you. Talk about the Tate McRae track, "Greedy."
Yeah.
I know you. You can clap, Ronnie. Go ahead. He's like, yay!
I will love myself.
He loves, my buddy Ronnie there loves Tate. Oh yeah. How does a track like that come to pass? Do you go to her with it? Do you collab on it?
Yeah. No. She reached out to me. We had talked about I wrote and co-wrote and co-produced 1035 which was a Tiesto song, which was a huge hit with featuring Tate. And I had told everybody I want Tate on this. This is a year and a half ago. And she ended up doing it, and it became a huge hit outside of the U.S. It did okay here, but it was a #1 around the world. Dance music doesn't do as well in the U.S. So that was our entry point to relationship. And then we just booked a session. I randomly said, hey, Tate's people want to know if you're around January of last year. Sure. Me, Amy Allen, who's done a lot of Harry Styles and the new NSYNC song coming. She did that as well.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so we get together with Tate and one of Jack Harlow's guys, and so the four of us, we do 6 days. First song we did became like one that I know is going on the album that could be a single. It's really good. And then but we were doing a lot of mid-tempo stuff, and on like day 6 or 7, more or less how that song came about is I walked in that day and I was like, hey, Tate, and everybody, can we do a dance right? I was like, Tate, you can outdance anyone alive right now. You're a better dancer than any pop star in maybe ever, right? J-Lo's the last artist I can think of who was a legit dancer and then went into music. Tate's a professional dancer. She's awesome. She's crazy good, bro. So we were just more or less kind of like walked into it. It was like, can we do a dance record today? Sure. What's it sound like? And I was like, well, I've been really listening back to the early 2000s music a lot lately, and just how sick the beats were back then. And like, obviously I was signed to Timbaland for a couple of years. So I was like, it'd be interesting to do something in the Timbaland zone. And that's really how it came about. And she had the concept. We redid the chorus probably 2 or 3 times because she's a perfectionist, and the verses. And that's kind of it. And you can kind of hear in the background in the track, when we first did, I threw my headphones on, was like, give me 30 minutes. And let's just like went nuts. And then in the background, when the chorus kicks in, you'll hear this, ooh, like singing this weird opera thing. And that's me singing in the background. So next time you hear Greedy, but I got to hand it off to Tate because she just, again, a perfect example when I talk about an artist knowing their fan base and understanding culture. The 2 artists that are the best at it that I've worked with are Lil Nas and Tate. They understand their fan base. They know culture. They understand TikTok and socials and just all of it. And she teased it, and it was, honestly, I'm lucky. You get a hit now, and it's a big part of it's luck. Like, she teased it 10 days after she started teasing it, it went viral. And I don't know what magic she has, but she did it. So thank you, Tate.
Who knows, man? Whatever she's doing, keep doing it.
I know. Come on.
You mentioned earlier that you're going on tour, although scaling back your tour dates. I guess just more family time and whatnot.
Yes, please.
But the rush of going on stage, that's what keeps you doing it.
100%.
Can you put that into a writer? Can you put that into words? The walk to the stage, maybe that pre-show little thing. As you get closer to the stage, you hear the crowd get a little.
Okay, I mean, to explain it in like human terms, it'd be a combination of 2 things. Like if you're not a performer, like this summer was festivals too. So like we had a couple shows where we were co-headlining, and there were 100,000, 150,000 people in front of us during a show. I mean, you can't see the end of it, right? People jump and the whole earth moves, kind of deal. What it feels like, imagine you're at a stadium show, right? You're whoever, you went to Ed Sheeran or Taylor or whatever. Imagine how you feel if you're on the ground floor or towards the front when the clock stops and you know that the show's about to start and the lights come down and right? That crazy like hair on end rush that you have just being part of the audience when all this people start screaming, or you're at a basketball game, same deal. Now imagine you already feel crazy just being there. Now imagine all of that energy is because you're there. And imagine it's directed at you. It's like literally going, like a laser beam. So it's like that. And the other, and for people who don't go to crazy concerts, I would say if you've been to an amusement park or anything like that, just think of the moment before the roller coaster goes down. That moment when it's cresting the hill and you're like, oh my God, here it goes. That's how it feels. So, but it's like sustained. It's crazy. It really
chills.
is.
You say it. You talking about that. It's such a. I mean, it's almost not. It's more than emotional. It's kind of physical. You can feel that rush.
You can feel. It's a. I mean, it triggers what it actually does, and this is a reason why a lot of artists, unfortunately, back in the day, all the time, would end up like with substance abuse problems or drug abuse problems or alcohol, because what it does is triggers superhuman amounts of dopamine in your brain. Your brain, all that energy triggers dopamine, which is a naturally made drug inside your body, right? That's the feel-good chemical, the rush chemical. And unfortunately, there's not too much you can do in normal life that replicates it, which is why artists often end up with substance abuse issues. Not because they're just bad people, because they're like, oh my God, I'm depressed. The come down is so down that a lot of people can't deal with it. And and everybody has their own thing. For me, I get a rush writing songs. If I crack a chorus where I'm like, that feels like a hit, dopamine kick. Video games, Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, like boom.
Right.
Like that's why I game. Like on the road, it's like sitting in a hotel room, put on like, whether it's Assassin's Mobile or Call of Duty Mobile, and I'm like crushing some kid in Japan. You know what I mean? It's like, bye. And that's a dopamine kick, and I'm just getting screamed at in Japanese. It's amazing. So we all chase those things, whether it's having a shot of tequila, or it's like driving fast on the highway. All those are dopamine. Concerts, performing is superhuman levels of dopamine. So it's crazy.
Ryan, true or false? Your son, Copeland, your son is how old?
13.
He sang, I guess, background for "I Ain't Worried."
Yeah, he's in there.
What's
He's singing in the "I Ain't Worried About It Right Now." He's singing along the whole chorus. Yeah.
How did I not know this? We talked about that song in the movie for I don't know how many times, and I did not know this.
No, it's a little Easter egg. He just happened to be like, it was COVID. I had to finish the song. We were handing it in for mix, and so he'd come down to the studio with me because like between my house, L.A. like shut down so drastically during COVID that like you would look for things to do. Like, where can I drive? I would like found myself like driving to Pasadena for no good reason.
Right. But
like,
you could drive in L.A. for people outside of L.A. You could do it.
In
Traffic
20
is
minutes.
crazy.
Yeah.
Every other, but
Except
during 2020, you could drive from L.A. to Santa Monica
anywhere
in no time.
Bro, all of a sudden you realize how close everything in LA was or
Right.
is. And like in the absence of cars, it was like, generally was like post-apocalyptic.
It was
Yeah.
awkward and amazing in a weird way.
It was awkward and amazing in a weird way. So we went down, he'd come to the studio with me and I was like, hey, this will be fun. Like I didn't know this. I had no idea this song was going to be a hit. Again, I've given up guessing because TikTok christened it and then it became a hit. But I just recorded him on there. I said, this will be fun. I'll put you on a recording. It was his first like professional recording. And about once a month, he's like, Dad, I still haven't been paid. Like legitimately though, I'm like trying to figure it out with the union, I think he probably has a big check coming his way.
How much do you do? Well, maybe you can't say this, but do you owe him a fair amount?
I don't personally, but like the recording industry, like the record label, I mean, for all I know, it could literally be his entire call. It's a lot. I mean, that song's done 3.5 billion streams. So it's like, it's going to be a lot. Yeah.
Copeland, I'm your agent. You need to get paid, sir. All right. Runaway, man. Give me a little something on Runaway.
Yeah. Runaway came about. We wrote that. Funny enough, I was doing like the Jingle Ball like tour last Christmas. And I think I was in Boston somewhere. iHeart, doing all that stuff. And we had the music going already. And I was, for Christmas last year, after COVID, I ramped up our vacations massively. Like for the last 2 years, I've just been going like absolutely nuts every vacation. Let's go the craziest place, right? Let's do whatever. Go on a safari. Let's go here. Let's go there. So we went to Thailand for Christmas. We went to like Bangkok and Phuket, rented a beach house. And I was in Boston and it had first snow of the year. And I was walking. I don't know what I was thinking, but I was like listening to this music. I was walking from like Boston to Harvard, which is that's like a 2-hour walk. And started snowing halfway. And I had a thin jacket on.
Perfect. Good planning.
And so all I could do was think, I was like, in 1 week, I'm going to be in Thailand. It's going to be 90 degrees. And I was like literally thinking, I just want to get out of here. I'm so ready to get out of here. Let's just run away. Like, let's, stop talking about it. No more excuses. Like whatever it is we were saying we were going to do, let's just go do it. Let's stop talking. So that's really where the concept came from. And then we recorded it. Funny enough, we finished it. I finished writing it and recording it while we were in Thailand, like on holiday.
Dude, songs come from the craziest places. I mean, you never know.
They do. I mean, you legit, I don't know where anything comes from. I mean, it's just like the clouds part, Sometimes it's like a life experience, and then sometimes like you're just spouting some gibberish, and like God is like, here.
Oh.
Yeah.
You mentioned Assassin's Creed earlier. You're a big gamer and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Mirage. You wrote this track. Give me some backstory on this.
Yeah. So I've kind of, my gaming has ebbed and flowed throughout the years depending on my available time. I used to game religiously, and it was James Bond and Super Mario Kart and Forza and GTA. I mean, it was kind of everything. And then I really got into first-person shooter games because of the original James Bond. So then I got into Call of Duty, then I got into Assassin's Creed because of storyline. And I decided at the beginning of this year, I just told my team, I said or the end of last year, I said, I want 2023 and probably 24, I want my focus, if I'm doing stuff like how would you say, custom tailored songs, I want to do video game songs. I want to focus on gaming and some movies. And so I dove in head first, and the very first thing that came to me was Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed, which I've loved that game since the first release. And I think 2010, I forget when the first one came out. But I jumped at it. And sometimes things are just meant to be. So like they came at me, they said, we're going to launch our first new game in years later this year. We want the theme song. I was in Japan at the time or something like that. And they told me, I said, where does it take place? They're like, it's in the Middle East, Iraq specifically, Baghdad. And I said, okay, well, we want it to sound like 2023, right? We want it to sound like modern. And so I kind of like in my mind thought, okay, all right, I think I know what to do. And I called one of my the guys that signed to me, writer producers here in LA. And I was in Tokyo or Bangkok. I was like, hey, I've got nothing but time during the days here. Get a track going for me. Here's what I want it to sound like. And I described it. The next day, this guy's name is Grant Boutine. He's a genius. And he sent me the track. And I was floored. And I literally wrote and recorded it. I write lyrics walking around a lot on headphones, walking through my neighborhood here in LA, walking through whatever city I'm in. So I was just wandering aimlessly in Tokyo for like 2 days, writing all the lyrics to this record, thinking about the game, knowing that it took place in the Middle East, and then became friends with Michel Tamer, who's from Saudi Arabia, from Riyadh, and he actually sings in the bridge. He's singing in Arabic, but like slang, it's the sickest thing. And then we shot the video in Malta because it was settled around the same time as it's been around as long as Saudi Arabia and Iraq and all that. So the whole thing is a very Middle Eastern, but it sounds American as hell too.
And they don't give you any looks at the graphics beforehand?
They sent me the trailer. They did send me the trailer. We had already started the song before they gave me a brief on what it needed to be. They're like, it's called Mirage. And I was like, ooh, that's a hard word. How am I going to, and I just remember thinking, I don't know if I can do a song called Mirage. That's really difficult. And then I figured it out. It just kind of happened. And we pulled up the trailer. I put the song over the trailer, and we're like, this is crazy. I mean, the edits in the trailer for the video game were happening at the same time that the beats were happening in the music. It was meant to be. It's the same thing with I Ain't Worried with Top Gun. Saw the beach football scene, and was just like, let's go. So I love doing songs for movies and for video games. And again, remember what I said earlier, it's so hard for people to know a song exists these days, right? Unless you're one of like 5 artists who has 200 million followers. It's really hard. So for us, it's like it's a double win. If I can do a song that I love that feels like a smash to me, and then I've got a company like Assassin's Creed, a game like Assassin's Creed, pumping it out into the universe, that's a win-win.
Ryan, the K-pop world. I do a lot of interviews in the K-pop space. We're about to launch a national K-pop, radio program, all this good stuff. You've been writing a lot with several TXT, for example. I know G-Idol. What's your take on, the explosion of K-pop and what do you have going on in that world?
So I got into K-pop via Blackpink. I did a single with Blackpink and Cardi B like probably 4 years ago. I think it was the beginning of the pandemic actually. I knew Blackpink because they were on the same label as me. Then I got to know them and the girls themselves and was like really impressed. And at the same time, though, I was also kind of watching the K-pop. It was more like working in that space out of curiosity, right?
Right.
I hadn't figured out the obsessive nature of the fans yet. I had just that's lost on me. Now I understand it. And then a buddy of mine who I did a single, What a Man Gotta Do with Jonas Brothers, the guy that I co-wrote that with, David Stewart, he turned around after that Joe Bro song like 6 months later, and he wrote Dynamite for BTS. And then the whole world knew what was going on. It was like, what is happening, right? So cut to, I did a bunch more. I had singles with Twice and did Blackpink's last single, The Girls, that's in their video game. And started working, got to know Bang at Hybe, and and his whole K-pop entourage from Korea. And I've been obsessed with Korean culture and Southeast Asian culture for more than a decade. We had a song in 2016. We shot a video to, and the whole thing set in Seoul in an office building in South Korea. And everything about it, the artwork is Korean, everything. And I remember at the time my label, this is 2016, this is before the big K-pop explosion. They were like, why are you so obsessed with Korean culture? I was like, you don't get it. It's about to explode. Because I travel so much. We tour so much that you get to see things, global culture, before it's American culture. So I just had this sixth sense that Korean culture in general was about to just be a giant wave over the States. 24 months later, it happened.
Yeah.
And so now I'm immersed in it. It's fun. I get to do pop records. At the end of the day, why do I love K-pop? It's pop. At the end of the day, like, I like doing cool stuff with cool artists and like indie artists. I still do a lot of that stuff for fun. But like at the end of the day, I like doing a big ass chorus that's just like, it's gonna be me. Or you know what I mean? Going back to the NSYNC days. It's like if I can catch I'm working a little bit on the new group, the Dream Academy group. I'm starting to like focus on that little. Obviously, you always think about Blackpink and TXT just did their new single with Anita, which I love, and I think it's here to stay, and I think it's going to evolve. But I'm curious to see if K-pop actually is the trigger for like the OG style Western boy bands and girl groups to come back again. I think it might be.
I think you might be onto something with that. Yeah, I was watching TXT with my wife and daughter at BMO Stadium here in LA.
We were there. I think we were there together. Yeah.
Well, I came. They said, "Hey, Jojo, come up to the label booth."
Yep, that's right.
And I roll up there and I see you there. I'm like, "Uh-oh, Tedder's up to something." And that's when the track already came
I was
up.
scheming.
Yeah. Ryan, we've talked about my obsession for the paranormal. You've told me your angel sighting story, which is one of the most phenomenal stories I put on my podcast, Paranormal. I have a favor to ask of you. When you hit tour next year, you guys do some dates and whatnot. I would love to get off air. Nobody needs to know this, but I would love to look at the hotels you guys have lined up, and I want to pick, because I bet one of those hotels is haunted.
For sure.
I would like to select a haunted room or hotel for you to stay in and report back and tell me what happens. Would you be? Everybody says no. Would you be down with that?
Of course. Yeah. We've stayed. I can already know that there's a few that we've stayed at that are absolutely haunted. Like
any experiences? Any
one in New Orleans.
Oh man.
Yeah, we had one in New Orleans years ago in the French Quarter. I think it's called the Bourbon Orleans. I think is what it's called. And the top floor, I believe, is haunted. It's one of the most haunted hotels in the country. We didn't know that when we booked it. And then the top floor was abandoned. Nobody stays there. So we go up to that floor. And we had just talked with the downstairs. We snuck up there. I said, "Is anyone up?" And they said, "Absolutely not. No one is up there." And like the doors are locked. And we managed to get up there. And and we it was us, me, my drummer, my wife. It was probably 6 of us. And we walked around, and we're taking photos. And the first thing that everybody noticed in the photos was those like insane amount of orbs, like the white balls, right, that showed up in every photo. We couldn't take one without them. But then the craziest thing was we're up there and we hear like probably 15 feet from us a door slam. And we're like, what? Like when we walk around, hello? We don't hear anything. Then like another 10 seconds goes by and we're kind of getting a little freaked out. And then we just hear knocking. And then we hear, and like it's 2 a.m. There's no, like, it's already shut down. There's nothing happened. We couldn't hear anything outside. And we're hearing random door slam, knocking. We hear someone laugh. Like none of it added up. And we all, whether we were playing tricks on ourselves or not, but all of us heard it. And then we all got freaked out, went back downstairs. We think there's somebody on the top floor. And her answer was like, haha. And we're like, no, we think there is. She goes, that's impossible. And we were just like, legit. We're trying to explain to this lady. She's like, people say that all the time. I'm telling you it's impossible. So if you heard something, she's like, there's a reason we also don't let people stay on that floor. So that was like our New Orleans experience. Then we stay in like old hotels in Europe, man. Like in Vienna, the oldest hotel in Vienna. Like, and we stayed at an old castle in Ireland, and the whole staff was just like, don't mess with the 4th floor. But they weren't. It wasn't like a wink. They were like, legitimately don't. And we're like, Oh, okay.
which means you went to the fourth, I assume.
Of course.
Of
yeah.
course. And you're, oh my God. Well, to be continued for sure.
Yeah.
True or false, new Christmas song coming out?
Yeah, true. We haven't done one in a long time. So we did one. This is like the most, the way I put it is, my goal before I die is to write a classic Christmas song that becomes like, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. Like, I want one that just becomes eternal, right? Not that I'm singing necessarily, but that I'm a part of. And so it's like, it's time to start doing those again, or taking swings at the very least. So everyone that's heard this from our record label and just otherwise, the response has been nuts, and everyone says the same thing. This sounds like this song has been around for 40 years.
Oh wow!
And that's really what we're gaming for. So
yeah, it's a OneRepublic track or some.
It's OneRepublic. Yeah.
So do you think in 20 years this song you could be like rising from the grave like Mariah does every Christmas?
Yeah, I know, right? She's crazy. But there's no telling. But I know that like I'm gonna keep swinging for it. And this one, if every song we do feels as obvious as this, one of them is gonna become that song, and it'll be like just OneRepublic randomly lands like the eternal Christmas song, which is, I'm definitely swinging for that.
And that's coming out like early December, I assume?
Yeah. Maybe it might be like right around Thanksgiving week, I think.
Fair enough.
Late November, early December.
Ryan, you told me this thing a while back, and I just love this story. You can perform Apologize, which I think your first major track. It's the track I knew you from when we first met.
Yeah.
You can perform it. You've sang it so many times. You can perform it now on stage while you're thinking about something totally different. You've even written songs in your head while singing Apologize.
Yeah. It's just one of those. It's like muscle memory.
What song have you written while singing Apologize?
I mean, I've come up with chorus ideas for other songs while singing Apologize. This sounds terrible. Like, I don't do it the whole song, but like there are parts in the song, like when my guitar player has the solo in the bridge, where I can mentally, like depart myself. Basically, I can depart from myself mentally for about 20 seconds while the music's still happening. I can kind of zoom out and be completely checked into a different place, and then think about a different lyric, write a different song. I mean, sometimes what I started doing this last tour is like I'm playing it and I was like, oh, I think you can sing Flowers over these chords, Smiley. So I immediately go, just on a whim, I was like, playing the, it's too late, I can buy myself flowers, went straight into Flowers, like, oh my God, it works. Then I was like, I wonder if I could do Harry Styles As It Was. I'll slow it down. I was like, no, it's not the same as it was. And it goes right into that. And then you could go straight from that into Coldplay Yellow, and then right back into Sam Smith Stay With Me, and then right back into Apologize.
Have you ever done that live and
Yes.
not just in your head? You did. So
I've done it live, but I'm doing it in my head during the bridge because I have to make a decision right then and there. I got 10 seconds before I have to do whatever I'm going to do. So I'm like listening. I'm going, I think that works. I never know till it happens if it's going to work. And so like I'll do it. And I'll go, I think that works. And then it's like, oh, Flowers, that's great. But the one that really works over Apologize, like same chords, and it just like the whole crowd goes, more than Flowers, more than Harry, is Stay With Me.
Oh, wow.
Sam Smith.
If you ever see, that OneRepublic in concert and they're doing Apologize, just know Ryan Tedder's not thinking about Apologize doing that song.
No, I'm gaming.
Some love for Ryan, you guys. Yeah. Ryan, you've written, I don't know, thousands of songs. This is an impossible question to answer. What is your favorite lyric you have ever written?
It's going to sound really self-serving, but my favorite lyric is the last line of the pre-chorus in Counting Stars. Everything that kills me makes me feel alive.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Now, how does that line, do you recall how it hit you when you came up with something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I had the chorus of Counting Stars already written, and I usually I focus on choruses first, always, and then I usually can write a verse very fast and like stream of consciousness. So Counting Stars was no different. There's some weird lyrics in that song. It's like weird, almost, it's bizarre. But couldn't lie. I feel something so right, doing the wrong thing. I feel something so wrong. There's something so right about doing the wrong thing. There's something so wrong about doing the right thing. Couldn't lie, and it was like one sentence. everything that kills me makes me feel alive. And then the next pre-chorus is everything that drowns me makes me want to fly. No one ever sings that though. They just think they think I just copy and pasted. So I've actually changed it in concert now where I just sing the same thing both times. But I just like the dichotomy of that line, and I think that people relate to that, and they're like, what does that mean? And then people are always trying to figure out what the video means. Counting Stars, like third or fourth most watched video in history is Counting Stars.
That's wild.
That went viral before that was a thing. And and I wrote that treatment like on the back of a napkin with James Lees, with the director. We sat there for an hour and a half just getting pretty hammered in London and wrote the whole thing out. And what I wanted was, I knew the lyric, everything that kills me makes me feel alive. That's the theme of the song. And so I said, everything that's in the video needs to be things that excite you and make you nervous and scared, but and feel alive, but could also kill you. And so when people see the alligator, the crocodile just walking around from, like if you come up to I've walked up to an alligator like in Florida, like that scares the hell out of you. Like that shit is scary. And it will kill you. There's like light bulbs, and I wanted to create. I wanted people to feel uncomfortable, like titillated but uncomfortable. And so like the light bulb with water dripping around it and near the cables, like water and electricity. You know what I mean? The healer, like the spiritual healer, where the people start, going crazy in the church. And I went. That's the church that I was raised in. Like
no kidding.
Where it's Pentecostal, man. Like Netflix documentary level Pentecostal. That was my church camp youth group, like growing up, like just the most extreme version of religion possible. And my family, like all of my family members grew up in that. So like that stuff makes people feel, if you're not from there, you feel really uncomfortable when you see that stuff. So that was the idea behind the whole video.
Is it the 10-year anniversary of that song? Is that
10-year anniversary now? Yeah.
Hey, congrats.
We just released a completely reproduced, like last week, completely reproduced version of it. Like 2023 style. I re-sang the whole thing. We retracked everybody should go check it out. If you like Counting Stars at all, go listen. There's a new version out. It was just for fun. Like redo the entire song. Like how would you do this song if it was 2023 kind of deal?
What am I forgetting? What else do people need to know about Ryan Tedder?
I don't know. Tedder? I don't know what else there is to know, man. 6'1", tons of fun.
Dude, and you've never gotten, you only get tattoos when you're traveling.
Yeah.
But you've never got a tattoo in L.A.
Only one, and it was the worst experience. It's the only tattoo I've ever gotten I should have kept my rule. My wife was going to get one. My wife and her friend were going to get one, so they had a guy booked down like in Hollywood. And then at the end of the day, I roll there to go with them. I wasn't going to get anything. And they couldn't decide what to get. They decided to cancel, but they'd already kind of paid. So I was like, sure, I'll get one. And I was like, I've never gotten a tattoo in L.A. I'll get one here. And I get the L.A. tattoo, the Dodgers, you're right there. The entire thing got infected, just destroyed. I was on antibiotics for 10 days.
No kidding.
I thought I was going to die. The doctor was like, yo, this can go septic. Like yours is bad. And it was from day one. The guy just like was too heavy with the needle and he over-inked it.
Is that what it was?
Mm-hmm. I had a tattoo. I was in Rome this summer sitting next to a tattoo artist from like Romania or something. And he glanced and he goes, whoever did that was either new or nervous. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, your tattoo, that got crazy infected, didn't it? I goes like, yeah. He's like, it's over-inked. And he's like, I know because I've done that. And he's like, that hurt a lot. I was like, yeah, that was terrible.
So you should only go to someone that you trust or know what they're doing. Clearly, is the message.
100%. I mean, you don't always have that. Like, that's in Hong Kong, right? Super light. That's New Zealand. That's Lithuania. These are all over Maui, Seattle. Like, I'm way less precious than a lot of people. I think people in bands generally, if you're touring like us, like the people in LA that crack me up are the ones who are like, yeah, I only use Dr. Wu. Or like, I only use Tanya in Silver Lake. She's my girl. She's the prodigy. Don't talk to me. Like, you know what? Eat it. I think that's lame. So it's like, if you're on tour and you're like, I want to remember this forever, I try to get things that represent the city or the country I'm in. So it makes sense. So I'm not getting some random like Calvin and Hobbes in Budapest, and I'm like getting something. So there has to be something that I want from that country that makes me, think back on it.
Ryan, thank you for hanging out, man.
Same, ditto.
Dude,
do this again in 13 years.
Yes, perfect. Yeah. At the end of every interview, Ryan, fist bump to make it official. Give me a little bam love for Ryan Tedder, you guys. Yeah.